team, I am so glad to be headed back to school here as we start 2018 together. We've had nearly 3 weeks away from each other, and that's been a good thing. I mean, let's be real. You were kind of tired of us, and some of us were kind of tired of you. But since we've had this time off, I think we're all ready to get back to work and get back to doing what we need to do to finish out your freshman year in a really strong way. And so one thing that the new year brings is the reality is that you've come in and you've transitioned to high school, and now we kind of start the process over this 18 weeks of transitioning you to the 10th grade. And so our work as your teachers and administrator and office staff and all that becomes twofold. So we take care of you guys because you are ours, but we're thinking about how do we move you up to 10th grade successfully. And then we have to also turn our attention to the 8th graders, because the reality is that in about 16 weeks, we'll go through graduation ceremonies. And once we do that, you guys become the 10th graders, and the 8th graders become the 9th graders. And so we have to start everything over and do it all again with them. And so definitely you'll see that as we move towards spring break and a little bit after, we really become a little more, you guys need to be more self-sufficient because we have to start focusing on the 8th graders, which is what we did for you last year. So a little bit more about that in a minute. For right now, wanted to, anything that we ask you guys to do, we're always willing to do. And so your teachers asked you a question in your circle time here just a minute ago. They asked you a fun question. I don't know what that was, so I can't answer it. But they also asked you about one thing that you were going to try to improve in the spring semester, and hopefully they answered that as well. One thing that I'm going to try to improve as the 9th grade principal is being present in the classrooms. I did a little bit better about that in the fall, but my goal is to be in even more teachers' classrooms and to be giving more feedback to you guys, more feedback to your teachers, and just continuing to be present and being a part of that. My heart is as a classroom teacher. That's what I signed up to do. My role is a little bit different these days, but I miss being in the classroom, and so I'm going to try to get in there a little bit more, spend a little more time, and be a part of your all's 9th grade year in that way as well. And so that's what I'm going to work to improve in the spring. A couple of reminders as we go back into spring semester. We've had a really significant dress code change, a change that frankly 4 or 5 years ago, everybody was against hoodies 100%. And so for Mr. Spees to make the change that you all are allowed to wear the specific hoodie is a pretty big deal. It's a huge deal, actually. And so if you have purchased one of the hoodies from the office that is now legal, wear it, stay warm. We totally want you to be warm in classrooms. Be careful, though. Here's what I'll warn you about. Not everybody's in favor of you guys being able to wear hoodies, and we want to make sure that you get to keep that privilege. And so the way you keep the privilege is playing by the rules. The rules are you have to wear this specific hoodie that you buy from the office. The money from that goes back into student incentives. So we turn around and spend it right back on you guys, and we give you snacks, and we do gym reward and things like that. So play by those rules. Make sure you're wearing the specific Fulton hoodie. If you're wearing any other hoodie, just know that if it's out after 8:25, if a first block teacher sees it, if a third block teacher sees it, whatever, those hoodies are going to be taken up. Okay, they don't need to be on. That policy hasn't changed. I took plenty of hoodies up from you in the first semester, and so that means they're not allowed to be on the hallways either. If you put it in your bag in first block and then you pull it out for the 5-minute class change and you put it away in second block, that's not acceptable. They're not to be on in the hallways. That has always been the Fulton rule. It's been the Fulton rule for the last 10 years. Nothing is new about that. And so if we see them in the hallways, we're going to take them then too. You can have them back at the end of the day. That rule applies in the cafeteria. They're not to be out in the cafeteria. We're getting really loose about, well, I'm going to keep it with me and I'm going to put it on during these certain times that I want to, but that's outside the policy. So we've adjusted the policy to give you something you want, a t-shirt option and a hoodie option. But we will continue to enforce the parts of the policy that are still there. Okay, so you just need to be aware of that. Keep those hoodies put up. To be honest with you, I don't want your hoodies in my office. They don't always smell the greatest. I I'm not Walmart. I don't want them there. But you have got to take care of that business, or else we have to take care of it for you. Again, we will only sell your hoodies to the highest bidder. Just be aware of that. The other thing I want to talk about real briefly, we got a little confusion about this at the end of the semester. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. During your lunchtime, during the time that your class is assigned to be in the cafeteria, you don't have a lot of option about where you can be. Pretty much the only place you can be, unless you have a specific pass from a teacher to be in their room, is in the cafeteria. Library passes aren't given out during lunchtime, so there shouldn't be anybody going up and down that back hallway. You should be in the cafeteria, outside, or going to use the restroom facilities there on second floor. Other than that, you need to be in that area. There's not really anywhere else for you to be. So if we see you in the hallway during third block and you go, oh, I'm at lunch, you need to have a pass from somebody that's allowing you for some reason to be out in that hallway. They always, if your parent comes and picks you up during lunch, they call us on the radio in the cafeteria and we can always find you. The problem becomes when they call for you and we can't find you, and that happens more than you'd believe. So be really aware of that. If you are in lunch, that's what I hear all third block. Oh, I'm in lunch. I have some people I think that are assigned to 3 and 4 lunches. You need to be in the cafeteria area. If you're up on third floor when you're supposed to be in lunch, you are out of area. And just as a reminder, anytime you're out of area, you are subject to being searched because that is a suspicious behavior. And so if you don't have a pass to be in the halls during that time and one of us stops you, it may be a situation where we say you need to step into the office. And that's the policy for everybody. It's always been that way. If you cut class, it's the same way. If you're out too long, all those sorts of things are totally fair game for us to search. So be aware of that. We don't enjoy going through your things at all. So if you're where you're supposed to be, there's very, very little chance that I would need to do anything like that. So you take care of your business and I'll take care of mine. The last thing I want to talk to you about right now, unfortunately for you and for me, because I hate making these videos, is we will have several things coming up in advisory that you need to be aware of. And so over the next few weeks in advisory, when we have extra time together, we're going to be looking at setting you guys up again, thinking about moving to 10th grade, but also thinking about our 8th graders. And so you're going to have different activities each day that kind of do one of those two things. So we have some things your teachers are going to ask you to do that are for you to set you up for 10th grade, not for 8th grade. We are not sending you back to set you up for 10th grade. There are a couple of days we also need to get some information and some help from you guys to help our 8th graders transition. And so one thing that you guys didn't really get was to hear from the class of 2020. And we want to make sure that the class of 2022 gets to hear from you guys. And so we have several ways that you all are going to help us with 8th grade transition, and that starts in your advisory classes right now. And so that's what you'll be working on over the next few days. Each day in advisory is laid out for you specifically what needs to happen and what you need to complete. You'll be getting a new GPA tracker here in just a couple weeks. Grades aren't quite finalized because we don't have testing data back yet. But they will be shortly, and so we'll do another video and kind of explain what that looks like. The nice thing about high school, unlike middle school, your grades kind of kept going. You might have English and you had your language arts, I think they call it in middle school, and it goes all year long. Well, in high school, if you had English first semester, it's over, it's done. That grade is finalized. So you don't have that now. You're starting with new classes mostly. You may have one teacher or two teachers that are the same, but generally your classes are new, and that means you're at a blank slate. That means you get to decide how the second semester looks. Sometimes students struggle to transition to high school. They don't make good choices their first semester. GPA gets hurt, and then they have to come back. The great thing is this is the comeback time. This is the time that if you messed around last semester, get it fixed. You got new classes, new schedule, new teachers. Let this be the semester that the real you shines and that we kind of get to see who you are as a student. And the same thing is true with your behavior. If you struggled with behavior last semester, what are you going to do this semester to fix it? If you keep doing what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always gotten. And so if the choices that you've made up to now have not been great ones, this is your chance. Now, many of you, most of you actually, the choices you've been making so far have been really good ones. We've seen a lot of really good grades. We've given a lot of awards to students, made a lot of positive phone calls home. If you did what you're supposed to do first semester, that's awesome. Good for you. Everybody has something they can do better in the second semester, and so pick some area, a class that maybe you took a B in a class last semester, but if you push yourself, you could have gotten to that A. You're starting fresh. So at the end of this week, let's have A's in all our classes. Go home this weekend and be like mom or grandma, whoever you live with that cares for you. I've got a 4.0 GPA this semester. Okay, I know it's the first week, but that's okay. Still, it counts. It's a real week. So go home and have something to be really proud of come next weekend and get the semester started off right. What we know is that when you get into a hole early, it is so much harder to pull yourself out. If you'll just kind of stay with the program from the beginning, things get a lot easier. If you don't understand something in a class that a teacher's teaching, go to that teacher as soon as possible and say, I need help with this. I didn't quite understand that. I need you to tell me this in a different way. Again, the more you do that on the front end, the easier everything gets to be on the back end. And so, that's kind of what we're looking for. We're going to continue to ask you what your GPA is. We're going to ask you what you're doing to improve, now that we all know each other, what you're doing to improve yourself as a student or as an athlete or as a person, throughout the second semester, because we all need to be getting better all the time. I think that's about it for now. I know you're probably tired of hearing my voice, and I'm tired of filming this video. So I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and if I don't speak to you this afternoon, I'll see you Wednesday morning. Just keep in mind dress code, cafeteria, and also be thinking about what do you wish you had known as an 8th grader. We're going to ask you some of those kind of questions and have you develop some things that you'll take with you as you move on to 10th grade. We'll be getting into some of that in future advisories. So, hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.